Hey guys, happy Monday. Hope you had a good week. It's a short week this week, so that's kind of nice, 4 days. And I hope you have a good week. It should be a pretty decent week. I put together some solid plans. I want to remind you about the presentation you're going to be doing on a film of your choice, a historic film, so one that was created before you were born, and how you will present that. Specifically, what we're looking at right now is the part that most people struggle with, which is how did it reflect the era in which it was made? Now, if you pick a film like Searching, which you start watching today, that depicts the era in which it was filmed, in this case 2018, pretty much anything in the movie would represent that era. You just have to find things that were specific to it. If you pick a film that's a period piece, then you could have, issues. Because if you pick a movie that depicts 1993, you might see a camera like this being used. And in 1996, this is the camera we use for the video class. But if the film was made in 2025 and it's a retro look at 1996, if you identified this as something specific to 2025, the year that the film was made, you'd be off. You have to consider that you're talking about the year it was made, not the year it depicts. If you were to do Casablanca, that's all period specific. But if you did Pearl Harbor, you would be taking a look at a movie that depicts the 1940s but was made in the early 2000s. So the technology to make the film would have been something you could discuss, but not anything you see in it. Because the phones you see, the cars you see, would have been period specific to the date depicted, but not to the date when it was made. So these are the things you want to kind of consider. What can you look for? Well, there are five basic areas. One is technology. And again, if your movie is specific to the era when it was made, then, phones are always a big thing that people like to talk about. And again, you'll look at the movie and you'll see they're using iPhone 7s, which aren't really used anymore, but were at the time. Um, if you have a period piece, though, you can talk about the technology that was used to make the film, like Star Wars. In 1977, that stuff was cutting edge. But obviously, it's a film that's set in space a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But that technology used to make it would fit. If you're doing an animated film, difficult too, but the way the film was made. If it was hand drawn cells versus computer animation or something like Pixar, that would also work. You could also look at the stars. Like we talked about in class the other day in Cellular, this is Chris Evans' first starring role, and he's way more famous now. But there are also other people in the movie, like Kim Basinger, who was a huge star in the 80s and 90s, and by the time this film came out in 2004, wasn't as well known, so younger audiences may not have recognized who she was. You can talk about music and culture, particularly if it depicts the era in which it takes place. You can look at issues, like in Casablanca, they're talking about World War II, which is actually going on at the time. And they're talking about trying to get America involved in the war, which at that point, when they filmed it, they weren't. And you can also look at things like the depiction of women and or minorities in films. As we looked at with Anna May Wong, one of the problems for her in the American film industry is that the roles she had were typically subservient. And even in films where the lead characters were supposed to be Asian, they still usually picked white actors and actresses and made them up to look Asian. Okay, so having said all that, you're going to start watching Searching, and the sub is going to pass out some sheets. And Stop it, about 10 minutes left in the class each day, so you can make some notes. Try and find as many things as you can, and we will discuss it afterwards. All right, guys, have a good week, and I will see you next week.